was diagnosed with cervical cancer. I was told in my early 20s that I was at high risk for HPV. I was supposed to go to the doctor every 6 months for checkups, and unfortunately I did not do that here the last several years, which has been a little overwhelming with some things that had been going on in my life. I had skipped out on going to see my OBGYN for about 4 years. I had a regular routine pap smear done, and they told me that I would need to get a biopsy, but I even delayed that. Delayed that for almost a year, and when I finally went to go back to my OBGYN, they did what is called a leap, and unfortunately they did the biopsy and then the leap, which reflected that I did have cervical cancer. As a nurse, yes, I did know some about HPV, but I will tell you that even being a nurse, you have that thought process in your mind that the information I knew was that it was slow growing, and you assume, which is a dangerous thing to do, that it's not going to be me. I have 2 teenage daughters. I have a 13-year-old and I have a 15-year-old. Both Ella and Davern have been vaccinated. All vaccinations, everything we do within the medical profession has some sort of, risk. There's a risk involved. But do the benefits outweigh the risk? And for me personally, when it came to my children and how bad this scared them, for Mom to have to sit down and say, I have cancer, even from the day that I was diagnosed, I had to wait almost 2 weeks to know how bad this cancer was. It was a bad 2 weeks. I mean, you're contemplating life, and I was lucky in that it was just a hysterectomy. But again, I can tell you from reaching out to other women and what they've had to go through, you want your children to be vaccinated. The benefits of the HPV vaccination are going to outweigh the risks. And so both my children have been vaccinated. I think my biggest concerns going forward is, I think one of the hardest questions that I had to ask Dr. Scalisi was, in an appointment I realized that I still have HPV. I think I thought for just a moment, they took out my cervix, they took out my uterus, they took all those things out. And yes, that is where HPV, from what I understand, that's the host that it most likes. But that puts you still at risk for a lot of other cancers. I'd like to sit and tell you that once you've been diagnosed with cancer and they give you that green light, you're okay. That fear goes away. But I can tell you honestly that I live with that fear still sitting here with you today. The HPV vaccination, again, I go benefits outweigh the risks.